Hi Rams, this is Miss Morrow. Today for your lesson, we're going to get out your math notebook, whichever one you chose. Go ahead and get that out, and we're going to turn to pages 1 and 2. Our topic is integers, opposites, and absolute value. Feel free to pause your video at any time so you can take notes, and you can rewind and listen to it as much as you need, okay? So we are on page 1, and this is what it looks like. We're going to work our way through this notes, okay? Our standard for this is to identify a number. We know what a number is. It's opposite. We will learn that in a second. And it's absolute value. That's a new word for us, okay? So let's think about our number lines for a second. I'm going to start here in the middle. I'm going to zoom in a little. I'm going to start in the middle with a 0. Okay, we know that our number lines count up like this. But did you know that they also go to the left of 0? They do, right? You knew that because you're so smart. They go to the left and they start with a -1 right beside 0, and -2, and -3, and -4. -5, -6, -7. Now, what's so cool about these is that we have numbers that if I wanted to fold this in half and fold my number line over, this 1 would be right above the -1. They would line up. And the 2 and the -2 would line up. They are the same distance from 0. The -3 and 3 line up. Okay? That's what's really cool. And these are called opposites. Okay? Isn't it kind of crazy that opposites, you know, we have words that are opposites, hot and cold and high and low, right? But fast and slow. But numbers have opposites too. So opposites are two numbers. Make sure you're writing this down. That are the same distance from 0 on a number line. On put a number, it looks like a hashtag line, that means number. So opposites are two numbers that are the same distance from 0. So if we go back up here to our example, 3 and -3 are the same distance from 0 because they are 1, 2, 3 spaces that way, and 1, 2, 3 spaces that way. Isn't that really cool? All right, so now I want you to think about, what do you notice about the left side of your number line compared to the right side? Your video is going to pause and give you a chance to answer that. But I want it to be written on your paper and on your screen so that I see the response, okay? What do you notice about the left side compared to the right side? Okay, some things I noticed are that the left side matches the right side. They have the same numbers on the left and the right, just the left have that negative symbol there. That means it's below 0. You could say that the numbers on the left are getting smaller and the numbers on the right are getting bigger. Any observation you put is just fine there, okay? Now, all of these numbers belong to a special category of numbers, and they are called integers. They are all integers. Now, those are the positive and negative whole numbers, or we could say whole numbers and their opposites, since you don't know what that means, but positive and negative whole numbers. Okay. Now, you will also make for sure you write that over here. What is your integer? What is an integer? Can you name an integer? Sure. 8 is an integer, but so is -3. Okay, they are both integers. Okay, so how do you know if two numbers are opposites? How do you know if they're opposites? I want you answering this on here, so that you have it forever, but I also want you answering it on your computer so that I know if you understand it, okay? How do you know if they're opposites? Well, there are a couple of different ways. One is that the numbers look the same, except for one's positive and one's negative. Okay, another way to know if two numbers are opposites is to know that they're the same distance from zero. Okay, not so bad. Now, let's practice a little. We're going to name the opposites. Okay, what is the opposite of negative 18? I'm going to walk through these with you here, so I'm going to get a colored pencil, make it a little fun. The opposite of negative 18, that means what number is the same distance away from zero? Well, positive 18. Okay, what is the opposite of positive 16? Now, how do I know this is positive? Well, if I ask you how old you are and you tell me 11, my response would be, well, is it positive or negative? Well, positive, right? If we don't say what the symbol is, then that means it's positive, okay? Anytime we don't say. All right, so what's the opposite of positive 16? Negative 16. It even works for decimals. What is the opposite of 4.6? Negative 4.6. Okay, the opposite of 7 would be negative 7. The opposite of negative 21 would be positive 21. See how it works? And the opposite of negative 3.5 would be a positive 3.5. That easy, okay? All right. Next, we're going to mark the number and its opposite. Okay? We're going to show the number and its opposite. So, we're going to mark number 2 on here. Let me get to my pen that's a little bolder. Where is a 2? Right here. Now, what is the opposite of 2? Negative 2. Okay? And this will show, I'm going to do 2 different colors so it shows that this one is 2 spaces from 0, and this one is 2 spaces from 0. Now you may be wondering, Miss Monroe, do I need to be changing colors in this? No, you do not have to. I just like for my notes to be in color. It makes it a little bit fun for me, okay? All right, next, negative 5, right there. Okay, that's my negative 5. It's below 0. Okay, all the numbers below 0 are smaller. Okay, and we'll get more into that one tomorrow too, or on your next video. All right, the opposite of negative 5 is 5 because they are the same number of spaces from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, now I want you to answer this one. How does a number line help you to understand the opposite of a number? And explain that for me. But how could that number line help? If you didn't understand opposites, what would that number line do to help you? Okay? All right, now we're going to switch over here to page 2. Okay, all of our lessons will be 2 pages here, okay? Now, when I think about measuring distance, when you look at a number line or a tape measure, what do you notice on that tape measure? There are no negatives, so distance is always positive. And that is really, really important information for us, okay? Because absolute value is a word. It was in our standard a second ago here, okay? Absolute value tells us the distance that a number is from 0. So I'm writing that down. The distance, a number, is from 0 on a number line. Okay? So, if I said, how far, here's an example. Okay? If I think, and absolute value is written with these fancy little bars. Okay, you see the little lines around them? They're not parentheses. Those are called absolute value bars, okay? So this says the absolute value of 4. Well, How far is 4 from 0 on a number line? And if I went back to my original number line here, how far is 4? 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So the absolute value of 4 is 4 because it is 4 spaces from 0. Okay? So let's think about a negative 6. How far is negative 6 from 0? So I start here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. So the absolute value of negative 6 is 6. Because distance is positive. 6 spaces is like saying 6 feet or 6 inches. You can't have a negative distance, okay? The absolute value of 2.5, that's 2.5. How many spaces away from 0 is it? It's 2.5 spaces. They're always positive. How far is negative 1/4 from 0? Well, it's 1/4 of a unit from 0 because distance is always positive, okay? Oh, now this one's a little different. Actually, I'm going to jump to this one first, okay? The absolute value of negative 7. How far is negative 7 from 0? It is 7 spaces. You notice how these are all positive. This one's a tricky one, so make sure you're paying close attention here, okay? This one, it doesn't say the absolute value of negative 3. This one says, when it's on the outside, it says the opposite. So the opposite of the absolute value of 3. Let that sink in for a second. The opposite of the absolute value of 3. So I want to cover that up for a second. What is the absolute value of 3? 3. What is the opposite of 3 then? Then it's a negative 3. So when you're doing absolute value, the only time that your answer would have a negative is if it is the opposite of it and it's outside of those bars. Okay, that's the little tricky part here. Okay, so let's jump over to our reflection questions for a second. Why is the absolute value of a number always positive? I'm going to give you a hint. I don't know where you would find that answer. Okay, true or false? Opposites and absolute value mean the same thing. Oh, it's a tricky one. What do you think there? Do you think they mean the same thing? Tell me yes or no, and why? Is that true or false, and why? Okay. Right here. Write a sentence that explains opposites in terms of absolute value. Meaning, how are they related? And I'm going to help you with this one, okay? Because I want you to have the wording down and make sense of it, okay? So we're talking about both of them together. We know the opposites are two numbers that have the same distance from 0. But absolute value is the distance from 0. Right? So opposites, like a 5 and a negative 5, right? I'm going to put a 5 and negative 5. They have the same absolute value. Opposites have the same absolute value. Okay? 5 and negative 5 have the same absolute value because they are the same distance from 0. Now, last one. Where would you put the absolute value of negative 4 on a number line? So, we need to draw us a little number line. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Would I put that over here? Oh, no, my lights went off. I'm sorry. I've been sitting still too long, and they go off in my room. Motion lights here. Or is it at negative 4 or 4? Which of these would I place this? Okay, a lot of people would put it over here because we see the negative 4. But let's think for a second. This means the absolute value of negative 4. So what is the absolute value of negative 4? How far is it from 0? 4 spaces. It's actually going to be positive 4 because the absolute value of negative 4 is 4. So we're going to put it right here. That is my answer. Ooh, tricky one, right? Now, our notes are on what's called doodle pages, doodle notes that we've made for you. You get to color them however you like. I would recommend that you use colored pencils or crayons or something that won't go through because your notes are two-sided, okay? Now, the last part that is really important to our notes pages every time we do this is to fill out a summary, okay? It's going to be really, really important to fill out a summary here, okay? Thank you so much.